The night was suffocatingly still, the kind of silence that presses against the skin like damp cloth. Jake tossed in his bed, his breath shallow and uneven. A faint scratching echoed through the wooden walls. His pulse quickened as he whispered, "Not again." The sound grew louder, then stopped abruptly, leaving an oppressive void. Suddenly, a chilling whisper slid through the darkness, calling his name, Jack. His eyes flew open as a shadow moved across the wall, merging and vanishing into the plaster. Fear rooted him in place as his old house groaned like a living thing. His trembling hand reached for the bedside lamp, but before he touched it, a guttural scream ripped through the room. The sound cut off as quickly as it came, leaving only the thundering of Jake's heart. Then, faintly glowing words appeared on the wall. "You belong here." Jake gasped, stumbling back. He didn't know if he was dreaming, but he knew one thing: he wasn't alone anymore. Jake stumbled into the hallway, clutching his pounding head. The air felt heavier here, damp and icy cold. His whisper cracked, "This isn't real." The wooden floor creaked as if footsteps followed close behind him. He spun around, but no one was there. A sudden draft sent a shiver down his spine. In the darkness he swore he saw faint shapes moving, shifting like smoke. His breath came in sharp gasps. Then, a distant whisper echoed again, low and guttural. "You belong here." Jake backed into the wall, his skin crawling. He ran toward the front door, fumbling at the lock with shaking hands, only to find it jammed tight. The house seemed to pulse around him, alive and breathing, trapping him inside. The door wouldn't budge no matter how hard Jake pushed. "Let me out," he screamed, pounding his fists until his knuckles bled. A sharp knock came from behind, rhythmic and deliberate. He froze, tears stinging his eyes. Slowly he turned his head. The wall behind him rippled, the wooden panels bending inward as if breathing. A handprint emerged in the wood, pressing outward. Jake screamed, stumbling backward, tripping over a broken chair. The house groaned, and his ears filled with an unbearable hum. His vision blurred as fear overtook him. The wall stilled, leaving only silence, but the handprint remained, mocking him in the pale light. Jake crawled backward, his breath ragged. "Why me?" he gasped, tears streaming down his face. The air smelled of rot and mildew. He glanced at the ceiling and saw a dark, slow-moving stain spreading like ink in water. A whisper came from above, words unintelligible yet filled with malice. A drop of dark liquid fell on his cheek. Jake scrambled to his feet, wiping it away with shaking hands. The whisper turned into a laugh, deep and mocking. The house shuddered, causing pictures to fall and crash around him. He bolted toward the staircase, desperate to escape, but the stairs seemed to stretch endlessly before him, like a nightmare he couldn't wake from. At the top of the stairs, Jake stumbled into his childhood bedroom. Memories flooded back unbidden. Laughter, tears, screams. He clutched his head, whispering, it was supposed to be gone. The room was exactly as he remembered, unchanged by time. Suddenly, the closet door creaked open, slow and deliberate. Cold air spilled out. Inside, darkness seemed to stretch endlessly. A figure began to form, pale and indistinct. Jake's breath caught in his throat. The figure whispered in a childlike voice, "Welcome home." The door slammed shut with a violent bang. Jake collapsed to his knees, broken sobs racking his body as the lights flickered out. Jake sat on the floor of his childhood bedroom, his back against the wall, trembling. The darkness in the closet seemed alive, pulsing slowly. "Who are you?" he whispered, voice barely audible. A cold wind whipped through the room, scattering papers and dust. The faint outline of the figure grew clearer, a pale, childlike silhouette with hollow eyes. It spoke again, "I'm your past." Jake's heart raced, confusion mixing with terror. Memories of his childhood flashed, the laughter, the fights, the loss. The figure moved closer, stepping from the closet like it belonged. "You cannot escape me," it said. His breathing quickened, chest tight, as shadows swirled and the room contracted, closing in on him. His hands trembled, reaching for the door handle, but it slammed shut on its own. Panic gripped him. He was trapped with a memory turned monstrous. Jake scrambled to his feet, backing away from the closet, but the room seemed to expand unnaturally, walls stretching. "Stop it!" he shouted, voice cracking. The ghostly figure extended a small hand toward him, lips moving in a whisper he couldn't hear. A clock on the wall ticked backward, its hands spinning wildly. Jake stumbled over toys from his childhood, memories now taunting him. He tried to shut his eyes, but the figure appeared in every reflection in the room. The air thickened, suffocating him, the temperature dropping sharply. He gasped, trying to scream, but only a strained whisper came out. Panic and guilt intermingled in his mind. He had thought he'd buried these memories, but they were alive, angry, and reaching for him. Jake backed into the corner, eyes darting around frantically. The figure's voice echoed, "You ran from me then. You can't run now." Walls seemed to breathe, creaking in rhythm with his heartbeat. Dust motes danced in the air like tiny spirits. Shadows lengthened and twisted, forming faces from his past. He could hear whispers of his parents, his childhood friends, even the arguments he'd suppressed. His hands clutched his head, teeth grinding. Suddenly the figure vanished, leaving only a cold emptiness. Jake shivered violently, sweat mixing with tears. "It's still here," he muttered, realizing this was not a haunting that would end with a single confrontation. The room's shadows lingered like liquid, moving even after the figure disappeared. Jake tried to calm himself, closing his eyes and taking shallow breaths. The figure reappeared at the foot of his bed, small but menacing, eyes hollow and unblinking. "Face me," it hissed. The room's air seemed to thicken, oppressive as wet fog. Books toppled from shelves, a gust of wind flipping pages wildly. He tried to move, legs frozen, body rigid. The figure advanced slowly, each step echoing unnaturally in the room. Jake's mind raced, memories and fear colliding. He remembered a childhood mistake, a secret guilt, and realized the figure fed on it. Panic and recognition mixed in him. His chest heaved as he whispered, "I remember." The figure paused, tilting its head, studying him silently. Jake sank to the floor, knees drawn to his chest. "I remember everything now," he whispered, voice trembling. The figure's expression softened, almost sad, yet still hollow. Light from the moon illuminated his face, tears reflecting in his eyes. Memories surged, laughter, pain and guilt he had buried for decades. The figure raised a hand slowly, pointing toward him as if urging acknowledgement. A cold shiver ran through him, body trembling. "You must forgive yourself," it whispered. The room pulsed once violently, then settled into eerie calm. Jake exhaled shakily, realizing the haunting was not punishment but a confrontation with his own past. The figure began to fade, leaving only the chill and the echo of a childlike whisper, "Never forget." Jake rose unsteadily from the floor, determination replacing fear. The room was quiet now, shadows stretching but no longer attacking. "I need answers," he muttered. A sudden gust slammed the window open, papers flying like restless spirits. The figure materialized fully, pale and childlike, eyes hollow yet sorrowful. "Why me?" Jake demanded, voice firm. The ghost hovered closer, whispering of past events Jake had forgotten, tragedies buried in his memory. Memories of neglect, loss, and missed opportunities surged through him. He clenched his fists, realizing the haunting was tied to truths he had avoided. "I will face you," he declared, voice echoing through the room. The figure paused, waiting, shadows bending with tension as if anticipating his courage. Jake stepped closer, eyes never leaving the figure. "What do you want from me?" he demanded. The figure's hollow gaze softened slightly, hand raised as if reaching for understanding. Shadows shifted, forming silhouettes of his past self. He remembered every mistake, every regret, and accepted them fully. The room seemed to pulse with energy, walls vibrating slightly. "I want you to see," the figure whispered. A flash of childhood memory struck him, the day he abandoned a friend, the moment he hid from truth. Pain and relief collided inside him. Jake's chest heaved. Acceptance and guilt intertwined. "I see now," he said, voice trembling but clear. The figure drifted closer, hovering at eye level. "Forgive yourself," it whispered. Jake swallowed hard, memories of shame and guilt pressing down. Tears ran freely as he nodded slowly. The room seemed to shift. The air grew lighter, warmer. Walls returned to normal, shadows softening, dust settling gently. The ghostly figure's form wavered, like mist caught in sunlight. "I forgive myself," Jake repeated aloud, voice steady. The figure smiled faintly, eyes glimmering with recognition, then raised a small hand in farewell. A wind swirled around the room, lifting hair and papers in a graceful dance, signaling the end of torment. Jake's chest felt lighter than it had in decades. The ghost began to fade slowly, leaving only traces of shimmering light. Jake watched intently, feeling a mix of relief and loss. He took a deep breath, the silence around him now comforting. Memories no longer hurt as sharply. They were lessons now, not chains. A sense of closure settled over him. He stepped forward, touching the wall where the figure had been, feeling warmth rather than cold emptiness. "Thank you," he whispered softly, knowing it was the past forgiving him as much as he was forgiving himself. The room, once a cage of fear, now felt like a sanctuary. Light filtered through the curtains, casting long, peaceful shadows. Jake exhaled deeply, a calmness washing over him. Jake walked slowly toward the window, staring at the night sky now calm and still. The house felt lighter, free from the oppressive shadows of the past. He realized growth came from facing truth, not fleeing it. Memories of pain, guilt, and loss had shaped him but no longer controlled him. He placed his hand on the windowsill, feeling connection to both past and present. A faint breeze brushed his face, whispering like the ghost's final farewell. He smiled softly, a mixture of relief and acceptance. "I'm ready," he murmured, voice steady, as if a weight had been lifted. The room, once haunted, now held peace, and for the first time in decades, he felt home again. Morning sunlight streamed through the curtains, illuminating the room in warm gold. Jake sat on the edge of his bed, reflecting on the events that had changed him. Every shadow seemed softer now, less threatening. He traced his hand along the walls, remembering the ghost's presence, and a small smile tugged at his lips. "I've faced my fears," he whispered. The air felt alive, filled with possibilities rather than dread. Outside, birds chirped in rhythm with his heartbeat. The sense of liberation was overwhelming. Today, he realized, was not just a continuation. It was a new beginning. Hope and courage intertwined inside him, pushing the memory of fear further away. Jake stepped outside, feeling the cool morning air on his face. The neighborhood seemed different, brighter, almost welcoming. Leaves swayed gently in the breeze, birds darting between branches. He inhaled deeply, letting the fresh air wash away remnants of fear. The streets were empty, quiet enough to hear his own heartbeat. He realized the world hadn't changed, but he had. Every step he took felt purposeful, grounded, and light. "I am ready for life," he thought. Memories of the haunting were no longer heavy chains. They were lessons guiding him forward. Each moment now felt like an opportunity to embrace fully. He arrived at a nearby park, the sunlight dancing on the grass. Children laughed in the distance, dogs barked playfully. Jake sat on a bench, watching life move in harmony around him. His shoulders relaxed, chest rising and falling with newfound ease. He noticed details he had once ignored. A spider spinning a delicate web, a butterfly landing softly on a flower. Everything seemed interconnected, alive with subtle beauty. Gratitude filled him. "I've been given another chance," he said softly. He opened his journal, pen poised, ready to capture his journey, the lessons, and the hope for the future. As the day progressed, Jake noticed the small joys he had once overlooked. A flower swayed in the wind, Clouds shifted in slow, graceful patterns, and the laughter of strangers carried warmth. He felt a lightness in his heart, a freedom he hadn't known in years. The past haunted less and guided more. He realized that his journey was ongoing, but the shadows that once paralyzed him now merely highlighted his growth. Life is fragile, he thought, but beautiful. A gentle smile spread across his face as he stood, stretching toward the sky, ready to embrace each moment fully, with courage, compassion, and awareness. As twilight fell, Jake returned home, the city lights twinkling in the distance. He paused at the doorway, taking a deep breath and savoring the serenity. Shadows no longer intimidated him. They reminded him of growth and resilience. He placed his hand on the wall once haunted, feeling connection and strength. "I am whole," he whispered. A faint breeze rustled the curtains, almost like a final farewell from the past. Tonight he would sleep peacefully, and tomorrow would bring new experiences, laughter and challenges he was ready to face. The journey had transformed him, and he welcomed the future with open arms, grounded, aware, and free. The morning air was crisp as Jake stepped outside, feeling a newfound confidence radiating through him. The city pulsed with life, honking cars, distant laughter, and the occasional bark of a dog. He paused at a crosswalk, watching the world move in vibrant patterns. Everything seemed sharper, brighter, more alive. The echoes of the past were no longer chains. They were whispers of lessons learned. He smiled at strangers passing by, noticing their humanity. Hope swelled in his chest. Today was not just any day, it was the first day of his fully awake life, where courage and peace walked side by side. He reached a quiet park at the city's edge, the soft rustling of leaves greeting him. Children played, couples strolled, and the scent of freshly cut grass filled the air. Jake sat on a bench under a grand oak tree, exhaling deeply. For the first time in years he felt truly present. Shadows of fear and doubt lingered faintly, but felt distant, almost comforting in their reminder of growth. He traced a pattern in the sand with his fingers, smiling at the simplicity of life's small wonders. "This is where I belong," he whispered, grounding himself in the moment, open to everything the world had to offer. As evening approached, Jake wandered along the riverbank, the water reflecting the golden sunset. Waves lapped gently against the shore, and the faint sound of a distant saxophone played. He paused, watching a boat glide across the water, and felt a profound sense of closure. The fear that had once dominated his life now seemed like a distant memory. His journal rested in his backpack, filled with notes of courage and lessons from his journey. He exhaled, letting the breeze carry away his remaining doubts. "I am ready," he whispered to himself, ready to face whatever comes next. Night fell, and Jake returned home, the city lights twinkling like scattered stars. He opened his door and took a moment to absorb the stillness of his space. Every object, every shadow, felt familiar, safe. The walls that had once frightened him now felt protective, a reminder of his journey and growth. He lit a single candle, its flame dancing softly. "This is my life," he murmured, a quiet smile spreading across his face. He felt gratitude for the lessons learned, for the courage discovered, and for the freedom gained. The night was calm, and he was finally at peace. Before sleeping, Jake stepped onto his balcony one last time, gazing at the horizon. Stars sparkled above, the moon casting silver light over the city. A gentle breeze whispered around him, carrying a sense of infinite possibility. He realized the journey wasn't about escaping fear, but learning to live fully despite it. The ghost was gone, yet its presence remained as a quiet guide in his memories. Smiling, he whispered, "Thank you," to the wind. Turning back, he felt whole, empowered, and ready for tomorrow. For the first time he truly believed that life, with all its challenges and wonders, was his to embrace. Morning light filled Jake's apartment, warm and gentle. He stretched, feeling the comfort of routines he had once taken for granted. Coffee brewed in the kitchen, its aroma mingling with the faint scent of blooming flowers outside. He glanced at his journal, now worn from countless reflections, and smiled. Life no longer felt like a series of obstacles, but a canvas of opportunities. Each morning was a promise, each breath a testament to resilience. Today he would step out and greet the world, not with fear, but with curiosity and gratitude, carrying the lessons of his journey like a treasured companion. Stepping outside, Jake breathed in the city's life. Street vendors called greetings, children laughed as they chased one another, and birds flitted between trees. He felt part of a larger rhythm, a pulse that connected him to everyone and everything. Today, he didn't just exist, he was fully present. His past fears had become lessons, his memories tools for growth. Each interaction, each smile exchanged, carried significance. For the first time he recognized that happiness wasn't a distant goal. It was crafted in these ordinary, luminous moments. By afternoon, Jake arrived at a quiet cafe he had always passed but never entered. He sat at a small table by the window, observing life moving outside. Pen in hand, he began writing in his journal again, capturing thoughts, dreams, and gratitude. A sense of clarity washed over him. He had survived fear, faced uncertainty, and grown stronger. The world seemed bigger, richer, full of possibilities he hadn't noticed before. He looked up at the passerby, exchanging a nod with a stranger, realizing that connection, even in the smallest gestures, held power and meaning. Evening fell, painting the city in golden and purple hues. Jake walked along a quiet bridge, the river beneath reflecting the sunset. He paused, letting the scene sink in, marveling at how life's small moments now felt extraordinary. He thought of friends, strangers, and the lessons of the past. Every challenge had shaped him, every fear had sharpened his awareness. He smiled, feeling gratitude and humility. Life was no longer something to endure, it was something to embrace fully, in all its unpredictability, beauty and complexity. Night arrived, calm and quiet. Jake returned to his apartment, the city lights glowing gently. He stepped onto his balcony and gazed at the starry sky, feeling a profound sense of peace. His journey had changed him, not by removing challenges, but by giving him the strength to face them. He whispered a quiet vow to himself, to live fully, to embrace uncertainty, and to cherish the beauty in ordinary days. The wind carried the promise of new adventures. Smiling, he turned back inside, ready to write the next chapter of his life, fully awake and alive. Dawn broke gently over the city, painting rooftops in pale gold. Jake stood on the rooftop of his building, arms stretched, breathing in the cool morning air. Memories of struggle and triumph mingled with the quiet hum of life below. He realized that every step, every choice had led him here. There was a profound clarity now. Life wasn't about reaching an endpoint but understanding the beauty of each fleeting moment. He smiled, feeling the rhythm of the world pulse through him, a steady heartbeat he could finally trust. The wind carried whispers of the past, echoes of fears, joys, and lessons learned. Jake closed his eyes, letting the sounds of the city mix with his heartbeat. He felt the invisible threads connecting him to everyone he had met, every experience that had shaped him. Gratitude welled up inside, stronger than ever. Life felt like a tapestry, vibrant, complex, and infinitely precious. He understood that the journey itself held more meaning than any destination could, and that this awareness was his most valuable possession. Birds soared overhead, their wings cutting through sunlight like whispers of freedom. Jake followed them with his gaze, feeling an urge to move forward, to embrace the unknown with courage. He realized that uncertainty was no longer threatening, it was inviting, a partner in the dance of life. Every challenge, every joy, every quiet moment had led him to this newfound wisdom. He inhaled deeply, committing to live fully, to love without hesitation, and to greet every day as a fresh opportunity. As morning deepened, the city stirred below. Jake noticed the subtle miracles, the smile of a passerby, the sunlight glinting off windows, the laughter of children echoing from streets. Every detail seemed magnified, infused with meaning. He felt an interconnectedness, a reminder that life's beauty often lies in small, unnoticed moments. With a gentle smile, he lifted his camera from his bag, capturing the scene not for memory, but as a celebration of presence. Each snapshot was a tribute to the richness of living fully. The sun climbed higher, bathing the city in golden brilliance. Jake sat at the rooftop's edge, legs dangling, watching the world pulse with life. He reflected on the journey he had endured, the lessons he had learned, and the hope he carried forward. The past felt like a teacher, the present like a gift, and the future like a horizon he could approach without fear. With a quiet laugh he whispered to the wind, "I am ready," and felt the universe respond with a gentle infinite echo of possibility.